1 minute. Seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7. Whoa. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. How's everyone doing on this fine evening? Let's get into this press briefing right away. The questions are, let's go, fire.
Right, exactly. Well, there'll be much more to say when we roll out the speech. Okay, a couple of additional items for all of you at the top. Today, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Secretary Vilsack announced the historic expansion of the summer pandemic EBT program. This is the single largest summer child nutrition effort in our nation's history.
How good does
and
my
will
hair
reach
look?
more than 30 million kids this summer, thanks to the American Rescue Plan.
We get down.
Summer feeding programs are considered a lifeline for some families, but until now, they've reached less than 20% of families served during the school year. Children are eligible for this program if they are eligible to receive free or reduced price meals during the school year, or if they are under age 6 and live in a SNAP household. That is about 34 million American children. Parents or guardians do not need to take any action to receive the cards in the mail from their state agencies. Each child will receive a $375 credit loaded onto an EBT card, and can then be used by parents or guardians to purchase food. Also today, President Biden will sign an executive order establishing the White House Task Force on Worker Organizing and Empowerment. This task force is a historic effort to mobilize the federal government's programs,
organizing and
policies,
empowerment.
and practices to empower workers to organize and collectively bargain with their employers.
You mean
and
union?
We'll have a specific focus on increasing worker power in marginalized and underserved communities. Vice President Harris will be chair of the task force, and Secretary
She's doing a great job on the border, by the way.
Vice
Great
chair.
job.
The task force will include more than 20 cabinet members and department heads.
Fantastic job.
Also, Vice President Harris will have a bilateral meeting with the President of Guatemala this afternoon. They'll meet virtually to discuss working together to address immediate relief needs of the Guatemalan people, as well as deepening cooperation on migration. The Vice President will also participate in a roundtable with representatives from the Guatemalan community-based organizations tomorrow. Vice President Harris's direct engagement is a testament to the importance we are placing on improving conditions in Guatemala. When the Vice President spoke last with the President of Guatemala on March 30th, they agreed to collaborate on promoting economic development, leveraging technology, strengthening climate resilience, and creating conditions to expand opportunity for people in their home countries in order to address the root causes of
Can we get into the
migration.
freaking questions?
Finally, as you may have also seen today, we announced that the administration is looking at options to share American made at the plant where these AstraZeneca doses were produced. And I anticipate in the near future,
let's get into the
share
questions.
more details about
Here we go.
planning.
Here we go.
But we're in the planning process at this point in time. Josh, go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Let's go to India and what they're dealing with the coronavirus. The president just spoke with the Prime Minister of India. Can you give us some more details about that? And in terms of how many supplies, what all are we really going to rush out there? What's the volume and the scale to deal with the problem?
They need to turn their mic down.
Well, as Josh noted, and you may have all seen the readout that we just put out, but just in case you didn't, the president spoke today with Prime Minister Modi of India. committing that the United States and India will continue to work closely together in the fight against COVID. The president pledged America's
Hey, get off my screen!
steadfast ongoing
Get off!
support
Get
for the
out of
people
here!
of India
Get out!
who have been impacted by the recent surge
Get
in
out!
COVID-19
Thank you.
cases. In response, we have provided, and let me
Apologize
give
for
you more of a
that.
specific update. And I will also note for you that there'll be an additional call later this afternoon.
John,
that will provide
go away,
additional
John.
Details. So this is just what is available at this point in time of what is being requested and what we are providing. So there are a number of areas that are of great interest and are of great need.
John,
to
get
India
off the
at this point in
screen.
time.
John,
Oxygen is one of them.
get
At
off the
India's
screen.
request, we are exploring
so
options to
confused.
provide
Sorry about that,
oxygen and
guys.
related supplies. The Department of Defense and USAID are pursuing options to provide oxygen generation systems. We may be in a position to reroute shipments planned for other countries with lower immediate needs, given the urgency of the conditions in India. And we'll have more details, hopefully, on the possibility soon.
We should back
DoD is
India.
also exploring providing field oxygen generation systems, which we have used in our field medical hospitals. Each unit can provide oxygen for up to 50 to 100 beds. And we're also exploring options to provide oxygen concentrators and ventilators, and are in technical discussions with India to ensure the equipment we supply can connect to Indian devices. The United States has already provided 200 ventilators to India last year and trained medical professionals on their use. So this is, of course, in addition to that and other assistance we've provided. Another one of the major needs is
Every time she talks, I'm like, take a breath.
We've identified U.S. commercial suppliers as well.
Just because you're talking fast doesn't
and
mean
I should say,
spitting
and
facts.
therapeutics and tests. But we've identified U.S. commercial suppliers of remdesivir that are immediately available to help relieve the
Remdesivir.
suffering of COVID-19 patients in India. We've identified rapid diagnostic testing supplies, personal protective equipment, and additional ventilators available to be transferred to India immediately.
Yeah,
And
'cause
I noted, of course,
Trump did a great
we're
job
also, of
before,
course, are in
apparently.
close touch with India officials at all levels about the raw material needs that they have. And as requested by India, we will provide raw materials for the production.
Dude,
of
she's been going on
AstraZeneca
for like 20 minutes on
Covishield
this one
vaccine
question.
at
It's
Serum
almost like it was
Institute
set
of
up.
India. I know some of these have been announced, but that's just a
Golly.
little bit of additional details. So we're in ongoing discussions about what their needs are and how we can meet them. But go ahead.
She's
And then,
ready.
Secondly, the president issued a 100-day mask mandate for federal buildings. Does the administration plan to update its mask guidance now that we're at 100 days roughly of the Biden presidency?
It's
And what
forever.
about for the broader country? What science, what research are you using to guide you?
Well, I know there's been some
Science.
reports out
I hate
about
that word
CDC
so much.
plans, and we will certainly leave it to the CDC to announce their guidance, which I
Do
think
you
was the
always wear
second part of
sunglasses
your question,
inside?
about what will be required outside.
I know there is.
And when masks will be required for individuals who have been vaccinated.
I do always wear
Ahead of
sunglasses.
any,
Not always.
Final
I don't.
details or announcements.
I don't wear sunglasses when I do my news in the morning. They're
At
prescription.
100 days, so I don't have anything more to preview.
It's part of
for
the
you
look.
In terms of what might be next. Go ahead.
Looking ahead to Wednesday to the president's speech before a joint session of Congress, can you give us a sense of how the speech is coming together, the president's involvement in it?
It's
how he wants
intimidating
to
you?
use that
Well, I don't want to
speech,
be intimidating, Blitz.
And his appearance there to sell the remainder of his legislative agenda.
I'm aggressive.
Well, first, the president has been working over the last couple of days, as he will be over the next two, on his speech. He's deeply involved in the development of the speech. He's thinking a great deal about what message he can send directly to the American people about what progress we've been made, but of course what challenges remain ahead. He recognizes, as somebody who served in the Senate for 36 years, that this is an
No big
opportunity,
deal.
one of the highest profile opportunities even the president has each year to speak directly to the American people, and that's exactly what he intends to
368.
do.
He's been in the Senate
He
for
will lay out
400
the specific
billion
details
years.
of the American Families Plan
This
in
guy.
that speech, but he will also talk about a range of priorities that he has for the upcoming months of his presidency, including
Jen, take a
putting
breath
place,
in
working
between
with Congress
questions.
to
Slow
put in
down.
place police
Answer the
reform,
questions. You don't have to
including,
talk fast.
doing more to expand.
She's like so hyped up. I think she'd
access
take
to
like
affordable
10 Red
healthcare.
Bulls for her.
So there will be
It's
a
like-
range of priorities he will also mention.
Okay, I'm
in his
ready.
speech.
Let's
He's
go.
Working closely with his speechwriters on it, but also with
you
policy
guys
advisors
feeling?
and the policy team on finalizing the components that will in the speech.
And on COVID in this country, what's the level of concern within the administration that apparently 5 million people, or about 8% of those who got the first dose of Pfizer and Moderna, didn't return for dose 2?
Well, what I'll say is that there's no precedent, right? There's no playbook, And the other way of looking at that is that we're pleased that the vast majority, or 92% of people, came back for their second doses. And that is actually a pretty significant number in our view. We know people lead busy lives, but the second dose is critical.
People are watching. Did you get a vaccine?
Protection to help defend against variants and get people
I have not
the
gotten
longest
it.
lasting protection. And that is certainly a message that is being projected
'Cause I'm 16
by our
years
health
old.
and medical team and doctors who are speaking on behalf of the administration, as it was over the last couple of days. I'll also say that a big part of our effort as we shift into this newer stage, which is less about supply and more about reaching people where they are, is making it easier to get vaccinated. And that certainly applies to people who have not yet received their
What if
first
they don't
dose,
wanna
but
get
also
vaccinated?
applies to people getting their second dose. So partnering with doctors' offices,
You can't force
setting
people.
up walk-up
Oh, wait,
sites,
yeah, you can.
helping workers get paid time off. That's
Paid.
all a part of our effort to ensure
Okay.
people are getting both.
Real talk. Just a quick talk. Why do you need to have paid time off to get a freaking vaccine? It takes literally 2 seconds. Every time I've seen the vaccine lines, there's been no one in there. I've never gotten paid time off to get a flu vaccine because I'm usually just in Costco and I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably do that. It's never like a deep thinking thing in my life. I don't know about you guys.
Both doses of the vaccine if they're doing the 2-dose vaccine. Go ahead, Peter.
Thank you,
And
Jen.
congratulations. And that's embarrassing. You got married.
I did, yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Welcome back. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you,
Quit
Jen.
stalking my social
First,
media.
Vice President Harris says that she's not gone to the border yet because we have to deal with COVID issues. What is she referring to?
Great question.
Well, I would certainly have to ask her team about that specifically, but I would tell you also that her focus is not on the border. It's on addressing the root causes in the Northern Triangle.
And there it is. Jen just said Kamala's focus is not on the border, it's on the triangle. At least somebody comes out and says it. We get it. You don't want to go see the border because you don't want to see the actual crisis going down. Because, well, it doesn't. If you don't see it, it don't hurt you. And then you can say, well, I never saw nothing.
That's why the majority of her time has been spent on working with, on a diplomatic level. She is going to have a bilateral meeting with the president of Guatemala this
Say
afternoon.
that 10 times
She's
fast.
going to speak with the
Bilateral.
president of Mexico
Bilateral,
next
man.
week. And she's working with them to ensure there are systems put in place to reduce the amount of migration coming from these countries, but also to address the root causes. And that's really what the president's asked her to do.
There we go.
Then I guess, if not with regard to her specific statement, is there a White House concern when you guys are planning presidential or vice presidential travel, but more about COVID at the border than other places that she has traveled recently?
We certainly know that the number of people who are in facilities, the reason we have been so focused on expediting
the camera on me.
moving kids out of these Border Patrol facilities is because we want to reduce the public health impact in these facilities and get them into spaces where we can do social distancing and when we can ensure these kids have access to health.
I think there's a bigger issue
health
than
and
them
medical
getting
experts
COVID.
and educational resources. So that's certainly, and we've made some progress on that front even over
Bunch
the
of
last
kids
few weeks since you got
getting
married, I will
COVID.
say, on that
Think they'll be
exact
okay.
issue. So look, but if a president or a vice president goes down and visits a facility like this, you have to potentially clear some parts out. There's a lot of security that comes. Our focus here is on solutions, on making progress, on moving these kids out of these facilities, on getting them connected with sponsor homes, with family members if possible, and that's really where the president's focus is at this point in time.
And then about those
Sure.
facilities, there was a report in the last couple of days in the New York Post that every migrant child being brought to a shelter is being given a copy of her children's books. Superheroes
Yes.
Are everywhere.
Here we
Do you
go.
know why that is and if she is making any money off of that?
Of the president, of the vice president?
President's book, yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
have to check with our Health and Human Services team if you're talking about if they go to shelters or if they go to.
Yeah, in the welcome kit, apparently, there's a copy of her 2019 children's book, Superheroes Are Everywhere.
I'd have to certainly check on that.
Which should be totally
It's a good
illegal.
book.
And then I've got one more. Why was President Biden the only world leader at the climate summit
Wearing a mask?
Zoom who was wearing a mask?
Yes.
Because he is sending a message to the world that he is putting in place precautions and continuing to do that as leader of the United States. And I don't know what.
And there it is. He just asked her, why was Biden wearing a mask during the World Leader Summit? And the only one, because it was about sending a message. That's it. There's no science behind it. It's all about the message. I got the message. We're gonna get ya. Comply. Let's keep going.
What setups they all had in their countries. At
least she says
may
things.
warrant some more reporting or not. But obviously he had a pool there for portions. There were additional staff there, additional personnel, and that's the sort of model that we try to keep ourselves to here.
But I know the CDC's website and their guidance is that you can gather indoors with fully vaccinated people without wearing a mask or staying 6 feet apart.
That's
so.
actually for in your private home. So it's not workplace guidance. And we still wear masks around here, just like you are all wearing
What's the
masks.
point?
And we wear masks
Wait.
in our offices. And
So you cannot wear a mask inside with a bunch of vaccinated people, but not at work? What's the diff?
continue to abide by that until that guidance changes.
God, there's no
Hi, Mary. Go ahead. Hi,
science
thank
about
you.
any of this stuff.
Our latest poll over the weekend showed that the president has a 53% approval rating, which is, of course, lower than any recent past president, except for President Trump. Just 52% approve of his handling of the economy. Why do you think that is?
Well, first I would say there were a bunch of polls over the weekend. I know you're asking about yours specifically, but there are also some very positive signs about the American public's view of the president's job he's doing, including his response to COVID and the pandemic, something that's on the minds of the majority of the American public. According to the NBC poll, it was 69%, CBS 65%, ABC 64% approval. Also, I will also note, per our earlier discussion, that according to the ABC poll, 58% of the public approved of raising corporate tax rates. But the bottom line is the president, these polls show what we have.
And my
long
own
known. The
approval,
president came into
100%.
office
He's doing a
at
great
one of the most
job.
divisive
I
moments
polled
in
myself
modern
today.
American history. And the president's focus is on fulfilling his promise to bring the country together. So in large part on delivering on the things the American people were elected him to do, which we have seen broad approval for, getting the pandemic under control, turning our economy around, especially for working families and the middle class. So we know that bringing the country together, that getting through what is a height of divisiveness in our country is going to take some time. And that certainly we see is reflected in the polls.
So when you do look at these numbers, what lessons do you take away, if any, in terms of how you may approach the next 100 days?
Well, the president would be the first to tell you we have a lot of work left to do to get the virus under control, despite the fact that 2/3 of the public in all of these polls support his.
Hey, Jen, make sure to take breaths in between your talking. You're talking a little fast, okay? Thanks, Jen.
His approach and support the progress that's been made to get our economy up and running. There's still 10 million people out of work, and people aren't feeling satisfied by that. And we still need to keep our heads down and keep pushing forward to get the American Jobs Plan passed and ultimately the American Families Plan passed. But also he knows that he needs to continue to work at bringing the country together. And he will always be open to bipartisanship.
Yeah,
He
it's
will
like
always have an open door
tripping
in
out
our
on me.
office to members of Congress of different viewpoints to get work done for the American people. And he certainly believes that's what people elected him to do.
And on the speech on Wednesday, obviously your first joint address is a big moment for any new president, but this is not going
P.S.
to be
I'll be doing a
joint
live
address
stream
like
of that.
we've seen before because
Yeah.
of the pandemic. A lot of the pomp and circumstance won't be there. The audience will be scaled down, no guests, etc. How is the president
Sick
modifying
track,
his
sick
approach
track.
to the speech to sort of accommodate these unusual circumstances?
You're right, and
What a
it will
silly
look very
question.
different for people who are watching at home, who are used to seeing. They may not even know they're used to seeing this, right? But they're used to seeing
Right, 'cause they don't watch the
full
news.
Senate chamber, House and Senate, full members of Congress filling. They're used to seeing guests for all of these members of Congress. They're used to seeing, which is always an important part of the speech, a First Lady's box that's full of incredible people who are inspiring, have inspiring stories, and the president references in his speech, and that's tradition as well. And none of that will be a part of the speech in the same way that people have seen in the past. So there's certainly an adjustment to how he'll speak to the audience, speaking directly to the American people at home. That's always a part of it, but even more so to not having all of these incredible stories, inspiring stories that are typically a part of any president's joint session or a State of the Union address. So it will look different. But
can we get a
from
better
his
question
vantage
than
point,
this?
it
This is
still
so
is an
boring.
opportunity to speak directly to the American people about
unbelievable.
the progress that's been made,
So
the work
people's
that's
jobs.
still ahead.
Their job is
new
that-
proposals for
These people's jobs are to ask great questions. You have one moment to talk to the mouthpiece of the White House, and these questions are so dumb.
an American Families Plan and some of the
Except for shout out to
priorities that
Fox
remain
News.
central
It's
to
the
his
only one that asks
presidency,
like
and that hasn't
legitimate
changed.
questions.
And will he be wearing a mask? Because I think technically now the rules
Oh
are
my
such that anyone
God,
speaking
who
on the floor
cares?
must be masked, or will there be an exception for the speech?
I'll have to ask him that and ask our doctors that. It's a great question, and let me get back to you so
No,
people
it's
can know
not.
what to
It's a
expect.
stupid question.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Quickly, because I didn't get to ask Brian Deese this, is the 1 million threshold for the capital gains tax increase applying to households or individuals? Do you know?
These are all excellent
Okay.
questions, and
Good
I know
question.
I put him in a very difficult position, as I am too, because the speech is not for 2 days, and we will have lots of briefings that will go through all of the specific details.
I'm gonna have to
So
circle
you can't
back.
clarify right now if it's,
I'm
because he
just-
did confirm that there will be a capital gains tax raised, but
Yes,
it's not
and
clear-
over $1 million is what's been reported. That's accurate, but I'm not going to get into more specifics. I will see if there's more we can provide to you after the briefing, but we've been quite careful about not getting ahead of the president.
Noted. Another topic, the European Commission president said over the weekend that vaccinated American tourists can safely enter with proof of vaccination, whatever form that may be, in the summer. Is there any discussion
Nice.
that the White House would reciprocate that for European travelers?
Well, we're constantly reviewing, but obviously it is based on the advice of our health and medical team, who are evaluating what needs to be done to continue to protect the health and safety of the American people. So I don't have any update on that at this point. Go ahead.
Jen, Canada and the United Kingdom have both restricted travelers from India amid concerns about the variant there. Is there any effort here or review here about whether the U.S. would temporarily suspend travel from India?
We're always reviewing what needs to be done to protect the American people, but I don't have any restrictions or rollback of restrictions to preview today.
One more on India.
So no.
The Indian government ordered Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to block social media posts criticizing the handling of the COVID response there. Any White House comment on that move?
Well,
No,
that
we
certainly
fully
wouldn't be
support.
aligned with our view of freedom of speech around the world.
Oh,
And
that's
will the First Lady
ironic.
have any-
Oh my gosh. She just talked about how India is blocking people from speaking negatively about how they're handling COVID on Facebook and stuff like that. And she said that doesn't align with freedom of speech value. The irony is unfreaking canny. Let's ban our previous president from all online platforms. That's totally okay, because that's hate speech. It's different. You don't get it.
Any kind of virtual box, or will there be anything to sort of replace the traditional, as you spoke about, First Lady's box full of guests?
Not as people knew it previously, right?
Cool-
There won't
cool
be, She
question.
won't be sitting
Great
in
question.
the box with people. We are looking for ways to engage with the American public, whether it's through viewing parties or ways to communicate about what the president is proposing, but it won't look or feel or sound like it has in the past. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, so just back on the tax question real quick. We keep asking this question about reconciliation. Do you have a sort of a plan to sort of increase your outreach to potential skeptics, even among the Democratic side, in terms of getting this really additionally large package through Congress?
Sure. I mean, obviously the president has
There's no way
himself
that's
been
passing.
engaged with Republicans, as he was last week, and I expect he will be again next week. And I'll talk about the
But we'll
American
see.
Jobs Plan as well as the American Families Plan. But our root focus here, I know you were asking, Brian, about the corporate opposition to the capital gains component. Our core focus here, and the president's core focus, is on laying out policies that will increase investment in industries of the future, create millions of jobs, invest in childcare and education to make us more competitive. Then he believes we should propose ways to pay for it. But he's not doing a corporate tax proposal. He's doing an American Families proposal, an American Jobs Plan proposal. These are ways to pay for it. If people have alternative ways, we are open to hear from them. But the bottom line is the president's not going to raise taxes on people making less than $400. That would be like nobody pays taxes, but $400,000 a year. And he believes that the burden
Which is like minimum wage in California.
And highest level income people who can afford to pay more. Hence his opposition to user fees and other proposals that would be put the weight, the burdens on the back of American people.
On India, I have another question.
Sure.
Actually on AstraZeneca. So the opening up of aid, is there any specific measure or urgency to get doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine to India? Is that among the biggest priorities? And then on the India specifically, you mentioned that the idea is to get some raw materials to Indian production of the AstraZeneca vaccine. There are other vaccines that are being produced in India. Will those raw materials also be available to other manufacturers working on other vaccines?
Sure. Well, on the second question, I think I mentioned another vaccine option as well, where the raw materials could be useful for.
Get off the mic.
But I will say that we are continuing to look for a range of ways to help India. So we're talking about what we can redirect, what is available now. A lot of what they need at this moment is oxygen. That is what they will tell you. I know reporters, all of you and your colleagues.
Skip this question.
We certainly understand that. And we want to take every step.
Students are learning online at least some of the time during the week, either full-time virtual or hybrid learning.
Yes.
If the buildings are open, but the students are still learning remotely a significant portion of the time, does the president view that as a success, and will he declare that this week?
Well, I don't think we've seen data since the early April data that was reflective of February. So the data is quite old at this point in time, and we've seen across.
Next.
As I've said before, I'm blissfully not in the mind of Vladimir Putin, but we are, and so I can't predict or analyze for you really effectively what was in his mind in the movements that were made. But our objective continues to be working with our partners in Europe to convey that troop buildup is unacceptable, that escalation is unacceptable, and President Biden. Secretary Blinken and others don't hold back in making that clearly.
One last question for you. You have some visitors this week from Israel intelligence group, I think led by Yossi Cohen of the Mossad and some others. Who are they seeing in the administration?
Canada and any of those other countries?
Sure. We're working through what the process will look like, and we will consider.
And there's a lot of other lists as well, budget reconciliation. So there's a lot of folks, you talk about tens of millions of people, they're concerned about that this doesn't seem like unity at all.
Do you think tens of millions of people are concerned about him not meeting with Kevin McCarthy?
No, I think tens of millions of people are concerned about H.R. 1 and budget reconciliation and going with that 50 vote threshold.
Yes.
I'm not sure the polling bears that out, but I will say that the president's view.
Okay. Final thoughts. That was a decent last question. I'm just going to say, she's saying that people don't care about H.R. 1. It's because those people don't actually read the bill. If you actually read the bill, you would care about that bill. And also, when Jen says that the polling doesn't say it, she's not referring to the other 80 million people who voted for Trump. She's referring to the other people who she sees as the only people. So, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode of the Day.